Flight of birds. Leofric stared at the pair of burning candles, his mind wandering. It was dark in the ruined hall. The windows that had once let light pour into the main dining area were now choked with growth. The marsh was slowly reclaiming this place. In another century or so, it would likely be gone if nothing were done to save it. In life, the warriors of this hall would have drunk and celebrated here. Now they were likely interred in the waters outside, their weapons and armour lying in the dark mud along with them. It amused Leofric to imagine that soon their mead hall would be joining them. Of course, that was only if nothing was done to shift its skein. There was something here, he could feel it. He hadn't just stumbled on this place. The birds had known where this abandoned nest would be found. They'd led him here, a pair of whooper swans, their wings pointing the way as they took flight, their distinctive call beckoning him on. Not their swan song, but an invitation to something just as important. This building was trapped here, caught at the boundary between life and death, like a hero on his deathbed drawing his final breath. The mystic picked up the first candle, taking care not to spill any of the precious wax. Holding it over the bowl, he let the hot melt slowly drip into the cold water below. As soon as the first drop of clear wax touched the water, it turned instantly cloudy as it blossomed into shape. A second drop joined the first, and then a third. 3 drops was enough, he decided. 3 wax tears for the 3 people of Wintermark, ready to show him a vision of the future, of what might be. Overview. For some time now, the mystics of Ishal have been travelling the length and breadth of Wintermark, studying the flights of birds, interpreting dreams, reading the entrails of slaughtered animals, all attempts to see beyond the limits of the mortal world to perceive something about the nation's skein. To date, they have been guided in their journey by the messages sent to them by the Raven Seer each season, as a way to try to focus their divinations on the things that matter most to Wintermark. Last season, the Raven Seer asked the mystics to help with the creation of a new Wintermark army, a Calavesi army, to lift up the blade that was laid down when the heroes of the Fist of the Mountains lost their lives in battle in Redoubt. The mystics are not warriors, but they have studied the omens and gathered what information they can, and presented it for the nation to consider. The mystics have done what they can, but it is apparent to everyone that they could have done more, had their remit run wider. If they'd been more free to collaborate with the nation's banner-bearers, thanes and runesmiths, they could have achieved more. If it was clear they had the mandate of Wintermark to pursue their divinations, they could have worked with people across the nation to accomplish more. To that effect, the mystics have put forward a proposal for the nation to consider. To work as one, they must be guided by the whole nation. For that, they need the Witan to speak. The Witan is the traditional grand moot held most famously after the people of Wintermark were victorious in the Troll Wars. For centuries, the Witan played a key role in Wintermark's leadership. It was the Witan that would select who would next wear the crown when the current king or queen died. The Witan would meet whenever the monarch needed to call on the council and support of the nation. Not everyone realises that the design of the Imperial Senate was based on the Wintermark Witan, but the parallels are clear. The Senate elects the throne, just as the Witan once selected the next monarch. The throne can only rule effectively with the support of the Senate, just as the Wintermark crown once relied on the support of the Witan to get things done. Even the method of voting used in the Senate, with those present moving to stand on one side or the other, or behind their preferred candidate, traces its roots back to the Witan. There are no hidden ballots in the Witan, no secret votes. A hero stands for the cause they believe in. The mystics have asked the Witan to decide what subject they should turn their attention to this season. They want the Witan to determine what problem is most pressing, so that the mystics can use their insight and wisdom to find an opportunity to influence the situation. By gaining the backing of the Witan, the mystics predict they will gain wider support for their goals. Instead of just the mystics, it becomes a problem that everyone can work on. Working together, the mystics will lead efforts to appraise the single problem named by the Witan. They will do everything possible to find at least one solution, presenting any ideas or possibilities they find to the nation in time for the following summit, just as they did this season when looking to see how Wintermark might best raise a new Calavesi army. There are significant limits on what the mystics can achieve, even with the help of Wintermark. Any appraisal they perform will likely provide interesting or useful insight into a situation or problem, but it's not likely to produce the sheer volume of opportunities the prognosticator's office provides. It will certainly provide at least one opportunity to engage with the matter they've been asked to look into, but it's unlikely to produce an entire wind of fortune the way a full appraisal does each season. Crucially, the problem needs to be one that is relevant to Wintermark. Wintermarkers have neither the time nor the inclination to study the problems of other nations. That restriction is cultural in nature, not geographical. A question was raised if the mystics might investigate Sirku in some way, and they are happy to confirm that they consider Sedanja to be Wintermark, given that it is a key part of the nation's cultural traditions. What the mystics cannot and will not do is travel far abroad to investigate things that have nothing to do with Wintermark. To provide wise counsel, the crucial thing the mystics would need the Witan to provide is a concise outline of the problem that Wintermark wants to address. Anyone who brings an idea for appraisal for the mystics before the Witan should ensure that they can articulate a clear idea of what the problem is and avoid details, like how the problem should be addressed or how it should be solved. If the Witan favours their option, then Wilda will pass those details on to the mystics. The mystics have asked Wilda, who is Sulcavaris, knower of names, to call the Witan at the coming summit. She has indicated that she will do so on Saturday afternoon, at the centre of the Wintermark camp, straight after the moot is completed. The format will be simple. Anyone with a suitable proposal for an appraisal can put it before the Witan. The egregore will give each proposer a minute to make their case, and a chance to answer questions. Once the conversation becomes repetitive, she will ask those assembled to move to stand with their preferred candidate. The one with the most support will be the proposal deemed to have the backing of the Witan. A hero's skein is like weather. The closer it is to now, the easier it is to read. Leofric, Mystic of Ishal. New Model Army. Last season, the Ravenseer set the Mystics of Ishal the task of seeing how Wintermark might best inspire and empower a new army. The Fist of the Mountains, the first army of Wintermark, has been destroyed in battle. Their lives were spent defending the people of Urizen against the depredations of the Grendel. That army is gone. The rune-bound mystics who served under Emperor Guntherm slain alongside their warrior counterparts. Maybe in years to come, when their souls are reborn, there will come a time when mystics once again march with Wintermark's armies, but that time is far away, beyond even the sight of the Seers of Ishal. While the Fist of the Mountain may be gone, Wintermark endures. The Imperial Senate could pass a motion authorizing the raising of a new Imperial army that draws on the Kalivasi people at any time. There are costs involved, of course. It requires 200 wains of mithril to outfit a new army, costs 75 thrones, and takes a year to complete. There's nothing the mystics can do about these costs. It takes time, resources, and money to outfit and train an army. They are able to read the omens enough to predict what quality such an army might possess, if it were indeed raised from the Kalivesi. There are not enough mystics left who are ready to go on campaign with an army, so any new army could never be as far-sighted as the Fist was. However, there are Kalivesi warriors who could be recruited, many of them from the Naga-dominated halls that disdain magic. These fighters take joy in battle, often making use of the strange plants that grow in Kalivasa to disarm their fear of dying, allowing them to commit to their skein no matter the cost. As things stand, any new army that was raised from the Kalivesi could draw on these strengths to become relentless or glorious. Alternatively, it could employ some of the quieter Kalivesi traditions, their expertise as foragers and herb gatherers who know how to live off the land, to become resourceful. In addition to this, the omens have yielded 2 jealously guarded secrets. No half measures. When they die, the greatest heroes of Wintermark are interred in the Sovavan, the ever-shifting haunted marshes. According to the legends, their spirits dwell there still, and will sometimes come forth to welcome one of their own to their final resting place. The Sovavan is a place of mysticism and spirituality, where the veil between life and what comes after grows thin. Leofric, one of the mystics of Ishal, was inspired by the flight of birds to venture deep into the Sovavan as he sought inspiration to answer the Ravenseer's riddle. There he discovered the dwindling remnants of a once great dwelling, the Hall of the Satori. Once home to a banner of Kalivesi warriors, they marched to war with Empress Ainea and never came back. The walls of the hall bore the Satori's oath. A hero who commits their all never loses. They know only victory or death. The oath epitomized the Satori's approach to battle. Once a course of action was chosen, they must commit themselves to it without reservation. They were fierce exponents of the Calavesi warrior tradition, committing themselves fully to the fight, with no half measures, no looking back. All the omens agreed that it would be auspicious to rebuild the Lost Hall. Doing so would promote the fighting traditions of the Calavesi, reminding everyone of why these fierce warriors are so feared. Such an effort would not be cheap, but if the Empire commissioned the Hall of the Satori as an edifice here in the heart of the Savavan, it would draw young aspiring warriors from across the territory. They would come here to spar and train with each other, surrounded by the ghosts of some of the most legendary figures from Wintermark history. If that happened, it would allow Wintermark to raise a new Calavesi army with the fearless quality. The hall would require 20 wains of white granite, 20 wains of weirwood, 120 crowns, and take a season to complete. Once complete, it would allow Wintermark to raise a single new Calavesi army with the fearless quality, drawn from the warriors training here. Once used once, there would be no further benefit. A fearless army throws itself into battle, heedless of the consequences, determined to achieve victory no matter what the cost. Some Calavesi warriors employ rare herbs drawn from the marches of the Savavan that take away your fear of death. Once they are committed in battle, they throw themselves into it without reservation, fearless of the consequences. A hero has a name. After some discussion with various scops, the mystics agree that there is an alternative. Rather than restore the hall as it once was, a monument to the Calavesi fighting spirit, the Empire could build on the ruins to house a memorial to the achievements of generations of Wintermark heroes. The proposed Hall of Names aims to gather the names of the countless Wintermark heroes and chronicle their deeds. All could be included, and the greatest heroes of the ages gone, like Inga Tarn and Emperor Gunthern, alongside the deeds of the heroes who live today. Alongside the names of the original inhabitants of the hall would go the names and deeds of countless other Wintermark heroes. When the Scops give someone a name, it could be added to the records kept in the hall, creating a living register of those who would prove their worth to their fellow Wintermarkers. It would take many years to gather the names of all the living Wintermark heroes spread across the nation. Initially, most of the names added to the records would be Calavesi heroes, simply because of the hall's location near the centre of Calavesa. Such an effort would be much appreciated by the people of Calavesa, whose individual heroism can be easy to overlook combined with the more martial and cunning traditions of the Steiner and Swak. It would inspire their pride and loyalty, and encourage them to further acts of heroism. If that happened, it would allow Wintermark to raise a new Calavesi army with the named quality. The Hall of Names would require 25 wains of white granite, 25 wains of weirwood, 150 crowns, and take a season to complete. Once complete, it would allow Wintermark to raise a single new Calavesi army with a named quality, recruited from the stories of the heroes recorded at the hall. Once used once, there would be no further benefit. A named army contains countless soldiers who have earned themselves a name from the Scops of Wintermark for their heroism. These proud warriors are determined to live up to their name. They accept nothing short of heroism from each other and from the people they fight alongside. They have no time for those who seek to win by treachery or fight with needless savagery or cruelty. They are able to take the attacking order to make the ancestors proud, building on recent Wintermark strategies involving fighting with honour.